And a lot of those large corporates, of course, they are trying to attract staff back in to the office.
So Matt, talking corporate office this morning, right? So where do we start? How's the market at the moment, like on the leasing side?
Yeah, look, interesting, very interesting. And I think it really depends on sort of the sector, number one. So that's sector, size and region.
Yeah, okay.
So it really depends on what we're focusing on here.
Yep.
We're typically seeing, look, I mean, there's still flight to quality. Everyone's still striving for better space.
Yep.
Or everyone's putting a lens, if they haven't already, on their workplace, how to get staff back. Understandably, so they're reviewing the layouts and how that all works. From a regional point of view, we're seeing that sort of down in Christchurch, revitalisation of the city has really pulled a lot of those tenants back in from the suburbs since the earthquake.
We're starting to hear some of the, I guess the prime office space is getting pretty well absorbed now, which is kind of cool. So we might see a bit more activity down there, maybe. Yeah,
and look, I mean, I was down there a couple of weeks ago, and it's just got a really good feel to it. You know, the hype of it, architecture it's looking amazing. They've really taken pride in what they're doing down there with
some of that new
buildings.
stuff like Riverside Market. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
So there's quite a bit of activity down there at the moment in Drive. When it comes to Wellington, look, I mean, it's a full house. It has been for quite a while. There's still quite a few buildings with stickers on it that can't be occupied, of course. Government hasn't really done any movement since they've got in. National yet. We really yet to see sort of what they're going to be doing. Yeah,
but a sentiment there, right? Like when you talk to the Wellington sort of market, a lot of them are saying, there's probably going to be something happening, but you'd have to imagine that if the government does anything, they're just going to kind of consolidate into their better quality buildings.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. And then in Auckland, I mean, look, there's a massive drive up here. I guess from a small to medium size, the transactions probably aren't as great as we typically see historically.
And is it like compared to pre-pandemic, or is that compared to even the last couple of years?
Oh, I think both. Of course, high interest rates, the economic side is probably prohibiting a bit of movement.
Oh, okay. So, but businesses may be getting a bit skittish about the economy and just holding off.
Correct. But the flight to quality is still there. So any good quality stock is being attracted and leasing up fairly quickly. On the large corporate side, though, I'm saying large corporate, probably 1,000 square metres plus. That's probably where we're seeing quite a bit of momentum and movement. And a lot of those large corporates, of course, they are trying to attract staff back in to the office. So how are they doing it? Is there, as I say, flight to quality? Is there space fit for purpose? Is it attracting staff back? Do they want to come back? Is it in the right location for the amenities and services, and also public transport? So I guess one sector that is a trend at the moment that we've really seen is the tech sector.
Like activity from that sector.
Well, and they're actually retracting, of all things, which is quite interesting. So we're representing Datacom at the moment, for instance. They don't need as much space as they originally had before, pre-COVID. So we're acting with them at the moment to dispose of level 4 here, Wynyard Quarter, actually, across the road.
Just outside the window. And a nice little sublease situation there with fit out, right?
Yeah, look, turnkey fit out, ready to go. Would suit anyone wishing to come in, 2,000 plus square metre tenant, plug and play. So
that's quite cool with the fit out, right? Like we were chatting about this maybe a couple of days ago, how some tenants, they just focus on the rental, but there's actually a massive swing in your long-term cost if you can get most of that fit out sorted for you.
Correct. And there's a real drive at the moment from tenants to seek that contribution or the fit out from the landlord. And I think there's two parts to that. CapEx, number one, understandably, but the favour there for tenant is limited make-good obligations at the end of
cool. So you sort of start and finish on the CapEx, which is quite cool, right?
Correct. So, and one of the trends that we are seeing is a lot of the institutions and larger landlords out there, what they're doing is they're carving their floor plates up and doing what we call probably executive suites. So that's become a trend sort of in more recent times, where it's a sort of real plug and play. Tenant comes in, it's flexible sort of terms, lighter documentation, so not into the sort of the heavy deed of lease for a lot of these players. And we're talking terms of sort of 6 months to 2 years, flexibility of just
cool
rolling
that
over.
Flex, right? Especially if your business was growing, or you're still sort of bedding down what the trajectory is? It's quite a cool option.
So, I mean, first of all, it covers the capex for a lot of these tenants, not having to dig into their pockets, but also they can exit with the flexibility at the end. So yeah, there's a lot of movement at the moment, but we're seeing, just case in point, even around here in the western frame of Auckland, I mean, there's up to, at the moment, I mean, we've calculated about 30,000 square metres of sublease opportunity becoming available in the next sort of 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, it's cool. And so like obviously the big ones, you've got Spark in there, right?
Yeah, so that's 14,000 square metres alone.
It's quite cool, right? Good opportunity to get some space.
Massive opportunity, and going to the very competitive market rate, fully fitted, ready to go. So you've got the likes of that versus also Datacom. So yeah, there's quite a bit of movement.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, right? And then I guess one of the things a lot of occupiers will be thinking about at the moment is if they did want to look at their premises, whether that's a stay or an upgrade or whatever it is, what's the timeframes they should be working on?
So, anything from a sort of, up to 500 square metres, which we'd probably call in the small bracket, of course. Look, I mean, they're nimble, of course, typically, but I'd normally be saying 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, cool.
To give runway, taking point that you have to go into the market process, shortlisting, negotiation, legal and all the rest, and if there are any alterations, you've got to do that too. And then sort of in the medium bracket, 500 to 1,500 square metres, I'll be saying, guys, if you're not out 12 months early,
you're going to get a bit too tight, right?
You're going to be tight.
Yeah, and that's existing buildings may or may not need some fit out work involving consenting, so you're sort of around that 12-ish.
Yeah, correct. And another major play post-COVID is a lot of decision making, especially if they're international, has to go back offshore now.
Yeah, okay, so you got
there's
2 months
there's a lag there
yeah.
also to get that approval, so that needs to be taken into account. And then sort of on the larger scale of 1,500 square metres plus, the larger corporates, look, I mean, if they're trying to keep it as wide a berth as possible in terms of opportunities,
like development,
new builds, so on and so forth, I mean, look, I'll be saying 3.5 years plus in reality, because even if they go unconditional, the building will still take a good 24 months plus.
Plus fit out.
So you can imagine, you do the process, there's at least a year typically is what I typically work on, or even 18 months, and once they go uncon, then there's the build.
So you can have quite long durations, and I guess if they're right at that extreme end where they might be taking out the bulk of a building, I reckon you could even be in that sort of 4 to 5 year bracket starting a process, right? Yeah,
and I've dealt with a few where I think the romance has been five years in the making to get there, which has been a great process and a great outcome. But the analysis and strategy and workplace practice and the financials and everything, the weightings that go into these decision-making processes, and then board level and all the rest, it's a real journey.
It's a real heavy-duty sort of stuff, eh? Well, look, Matt, thanks for your time this morning. It's been real cool to have a chit-chat. And if you do want to learn a little bit more about what's happening in that office leasing market, feel welcome to reach out to Matt, maybe touch base with myself, and we'd be happy to chat. So, cheers, mate.
Great, thanks.
Awesome. See ya.